Did you listen to everyone's advice? Have you purchased a home? Did you ever say to yourself, I'm gonna make some money? Don't believe your real estate agent when she tells you that, oh, the value of real estate always rises, because it does not. Don't say anything when people come up to you and say, oh, the price of real estate is going up, and they're jumping in to buy real estate right now. And the reason for this is that people are only now becoming aware of the hype. All of this credit is actually debt credit, and debt is pumping money into the economy, attempting to avert the crash. And if inflation continues, you can get richer, become extremely happy, and thank Biden. He intends to cause inflation. That's why he shut down the XL pipeline and why they stopped drilling in order to raise oil prices. When oil prices rise, all of the truckers in Ottawa scream that they can't get food on the table. And food prices continue to rise. Inflation continues to rise regardless of what happens. Meanwhile, these people are taking advantage of the situation and buying real estate like there's no tomorrow. And you must understand that inflation makes the wealthy extremely wealthy. The middle class will pay higher taxes, while the poor will become poorer because they cannot afford the $25 Wagyu steak sold in stores. As a result, it is one of the most significant critical turning points. The issue is the US dollar, because it simply stopped being money in 1944. It has recently become just the world's reserve currency. And in 1971, Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard, one of the most significant changes in world history. This appears to be a replay of 2007, before the repo market collapsed. The market crashed in 2008, and this is where we are now. You need to get up. Otherwise, you're just a naive little hog being driven to slaughter. America, we are at one of the most critical junctures in world history. Rockefeller once said, when shoeshine boys give you stock tips, it's time to get out. It's dangerous, more so because you can't talk someone out of it. A few months ago, the Fed was still creating $120 billion every month. And then sometime last year, they said that they were going to start tapering that, reducing that by $15 billion every month, says Richard Duncan, a macroeconomist and author of 3 books on the global economic crisis. He continues, just a few weeks later, they announced that they would double that amount and cut it by $30 billion per month. And that meant it would come to a complete halt. The printing of money will come to an end. Then, in early January, they began leaking information indicating that they were planning to do the opposite. Instead of printing a lot of money with quantitative easing, they'll start destroying a lot of money with quantitative tightening. When they print money now, asset prices rise. When they destroy money, asset prices tend to fall. How do they destroy money? They destroy money because when they print money, they use it to buy bonds. When the bonds mature, they are typically rolled over and replaced with a similar type of bond. However, they primarily destroy money by selling those bonds. And what happens is that the bonds mature without being rolled over by the Fed. Someone else must purchase the bond in order for the Fed to recoup its investment. And when the Fed gets its money back, it just disappears. The Fed doesn't need to keep any money because it can create as much as it wants whenever it wants. The bottom line is that it's the inverse of quantitative easing. Quantitative tightening destroys money, which causes stock prices to fall, and we're about to get a heavy dose of quantitative tightening in the coming months. And it's going to make it increasingly difficult for regular Americans to go out and buy that house. Instead of printing money, which normally leads to inflation, it stimulates the economy and creates growth. However, when they destroy money, asset prices such as stocks and real estate tend to fall. As people become less wealthy, they spend less money. And when people spend less money, prices tend to fall. That is why they're acting in this manner. They are concerned that the inflation rate has risen to 7% and they are taking steps to reduce it. However, they may discover that this could result in a significant stock market crash. In fact, the S&P has already dropped nearly 10%, while the Nasdaq has dropped 15%. Some of the high-flying stocks were hit much harder than that. People won't be able to afford the rents if you plan on renting out your property, because one person's loan is another person's debt. Total credit equals total debt. Both of them must be equal. The simplest way to think about it is that all of the debt in the country, including government debt, household debt, corporate debt, and financial sector debt, first reached $1 trillion in 1964. In over 50 years, it has risen from $1 trillion to $90 trillion. This credit boom would not have been possible if we had remained on the gold-backed currency system. This credit explosion has changed the world. Credit is what the Fed and Treasury allow people to obtain from large banks such as Wells Fargo. This credit then enables individuals and banks to incur debt. Corporations and individuals enter and take credit, which they then turn into debt. Debt could skyrocket if credit is created. When we think of credit, we think of people using their credit cards, but when others think of debt, they think of their household debt. This current system is not capitalism, it is creditism. Sure, creditism sounds more appealing than debtism because we produce goods. America has grown. We no longer manufacture products where they create debt or credit. Instead of being driven by investment and savings, our economy is now driven by consumption. Credit creation and consumption are now driving the economy. And the major issue is that it requires credit growth to survive. We have a depression if credit contracts, which made us reliant on government borrowing and spending to keep us out of it. This is where the 401k comes into play. The 401k was first introduced in 1974 under the name ERISA. The 401k is comparable to a condom. It gives you a false feeling of safety while you're being taken advantage of. If the market crashes and interest rates rise, that 401k will become a 201k. They raise interest rates just as you're about to retire in order to stop inflation. Your 401k could be toast. That's all we have for today. If you'd enjoyed the video, why don't you give us a like and subscribe to our finance channel. Don't forget to hit the bell button below to get notifications on when we'd post next. Thank you for staying till the end of the video and hope you enjoyed. See you next time.